All right, welcome to the Healthcare Rule Breaker Studio. Today we are here with Dr. Farah. Okay, Dr. Farah, we are so excited to have you in the studio, and I'm so excited to hear about all the things that you are doing because you are doing things. And I see you everywhere. So go ahead, let's jump into it.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for allowing me to hang out with you guys and use this platform. So in short, I've been a nurse for like 20 years, started my career in Canada. And I always tell the story. I wanted to go into the ER, but my clinical instructor literally laughed at me and was like, Farah, you'll never be an ER nurse. And I was like, watch me. So then I got hired as a nursing student before I even passed my Canadian boards and got two offers in the ER and started literally 2 days after graduation. So really that's my kind of inspiration, and my mission now is to really empower nursing students to really follow their path. And it doesn't have to be the traditional med surge like everybody tells you to go into. So that's kind of what my mission is right now, helping and supporting these new nurses. And then really fast forward, I went into education after doing travel nursing for like 13 years, moved to New York City, was a clinical instructor because I said I was going to inspire nurses and be like a fun educator and like really, create a safe psychological environment and like learning environment for them. And then I went into some leadership roles, up to the director of education, even associate dean in academia. So I've kind of seen a little bit of everything, worked in multiple states. And then I decided to launch my business 3 years ago as a nurse career coach and speaker. And I love talking about all things entrepreneurship for nurses because I help nurses also start up their businesses if they're interested. And then again, career guidance, personal branding, all that great stuff. And then I have my own podcast as well, like you guys. So the Nursing Dose with Farah. Okay. So I'm so excited to be here and like get into this conversation.
Oh, me too. Say it again. The Nursing Dose with Farah.
Yes.
It's on all the platforms.
It's on Spotify, and I also stream to YouTube. So all the actual YouTube, my YouTube channel has all the episodes on there. Yep.
I love this. So can I just say, first of all, can you help us understand what is a nurse career coach? I see a lot of that out there, and people go to this course, go to that, but I'm seeing you as a lead voice in this. What does it actually mean?
Right. So for me, when I first started about 3 years ago, there wasn't a lot of nurse career coaches out there. So what I saw was kind of career strategists and just generalists, kind of helping people with resume building and interviews and things like that. So then I decided, because naturally I always kind of fell into the role of always supporting new nurses, helping them like get into nursing schools, helping with their resume interview skills. And then I was like, well, I could just do this as a business, right? And just start my own business. But what I found out when I first started, it wasn't just the technical skills of how to do a resume and how to do interviewing skills. A lot of these nurses lacked a lot of confidence, especially, senior nursing students, because they're always kind of told you're not kind of good enough or you're not worthy to go into specific specialty areas. And because of my background, what they told me when I was a senior nurse, I said, well, I'm going to help them get into these specialty areas that they really want to get into without them wasting their time. And it's also kind of like indirectly helping retention, because if they're where they want to be, they're not going to leave, and it's not going to be a revolving door for med surge. So I really help them get into things like the OR, the ICU, the ER. And even if they don't want to be in the hospital, I help guide them to, like, if they want to go into community nursing or whatever their passion is. And a lot of them are a little bit confused getting out because nursing school kind of paints kind of one picture for them. So I really want to kind of spread their knowledge as to like the opportunities that there is in nursing, because we do have such a wide variety of things that they can do. So that's kind of what I help them with. And it's really transformational. Like they're so excited when they go into the areas that they want to go into, and they're so grateful and thankful that they don't, waste their time going into something else.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I think is most impactful for me, just hearing you talk about it, is the individualized approach, right? So
Mhm.
like, I mean, sometimes we go to nursing schools and there are 100 students, and you really don't have that individualized opportunity for someone to like talk about what are your skill sets, what are your passions, where do you see that intersecting and intertwining, and how does that transform into a career in nursing? Because we know, like, my gosh, we couldn't even name, like, it would take us, 3 or 4 days to write down all of the potential
Yeah.
opportunities there are in this, field that we all love. And so I just think like just having that individualized approach for me is just amazing. So I want to jump into a separate conversation,
Yep.
just piggybacking off of something you said when you were introducing yourself. You were talking about branding and brand awareness, which I think is something that you do very well on LinkedIn. Like, I know what you do, why you're doing it, and I can see that very clearly in what you're sharing on your social media. So for me, I love talking about personal branding, especially when we're trying to change the narrative when it comes to nursing leadership and nursing, right, as a profession as a whole. We know that, in just different sectors of social media, we see the negative and we see a lot of the challenges that our profession has, but I do see you highlighting like the true impact and how you are building these nurses up to be able to come in and like care for people, because that's our role. But I really would like to hear more about like how do you help, or what would you share with people if they're looking at enhancing their brand either within a health system or building their business as a nurse?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I love the personal branding aspect of nursing because a lot of nurses don't realize that they do have a brand and that they are the brand. And I didn't know this too in the beginning when I first started. Actually had a performance evaluation once. It was like a nurse manager that had just gotten to this nurse manager role in the ER. And later on, she kind of came up to me. She's like, "Farah, you know what? I think you should really work on your brand." And I'm like, what is she talking about? Right? I'm like, I'm in the ER, like so focused, there's like traumas coming in. So a few years later, when I started this business, I started to do a lot of research about personal branding. I follow people like Gary Vee, and the Hermoses and all that type of stuff. And then uh, I was thinking about it, and really branding, when you're thinking about personal branding, it's different than a company, right? A company such as like Nike or Adidas, they have millions of dollars to spend on actually advertising and branding and marketing. So people actually confuse personal branding with marketing. It's very different. Really, the personal brand is like really your values, what you stand for, and it's really just you, right? It has nothing to do with like really logos, things like that. So there's two parts to it. Let's say I'll start with like if you're an actual nurse in a hospital setting, or you want to advance your professional career, and then I'll talk about from a nurse entrepreneur standpoint. So if you're a nurse, and you want to advance, whether you're a leader, whatever it is, whatever position you're in, you really need to realize that people are watching, right? And visibility is what's going to advance you in your career. So most people think, like I used to think, that work performance is really what brings you ahead in your professional advancement, and it's completely wrong. So there's this pie chart by Harvey Coleman. He wrote a book. I forgot the name of the book, but he talks about professional advancement. And in the pie chart, 10% of actually the professional advancement comes from work performance. Only 10%. 60% comes from exposure, and 30% comes from your image, kind of like how people perceive you and how visible you are. So like you said, do people know you? Do they know what you do? Simply. So if you're on a unit and you're a nurse manager, let's say you want to go into the director role, right? Do people know who you are? Like, do they even know your name? How are you showing up in meetings, meaning professionally, even to the point where you're dressed? And this is why when I work with my nurses, when they're going to interviews, I'm like, you are not going to wear black, gray, or navy blue. I said, just throw that out. You got to wear something different because literally, like visually, you have to stand out. So not only visually, but also in your work, the way you speak, the way you present yourself. So even when you're entering the room in these meetings, people are paying attention. So that's the image part, and then the visibility. So a lot of times nurses think, well, they're going out on this outing. I don't want to go. Work outings and things like that are so important to build relationships and build connections. So that's something I failed to do when I was a new nurse because I was so focused on like certifications and advanced education and all this stuff, right? But really, it's all in the connections that you're building that you'll really advance. So if you're taking on projects and things like that, people will start perceiving you a certain way and say, hey, you know what? This person is always like helpful, easy to get along with. So my advice, I would say, ask like 10 people that you work with and ask them to describe you, let's say in 3 words or in 1 sentence. And if you get different things that you don't like, then it means that you need to work on this personal brand so that you're seen a certain way by multiple people. So that's the workforce side. And then from a nurse entrepreneur side, if nobody knows about you, right? We know about, the business saying like the no trust and like factor, or the no like and trust factor. Like if no one knows you, they're not going to be able to decide whether they like you or not, and they're not going to be able to trust you enough to do business. Again, back to this relationship building. When I first started my business, I was obsessed with like my logo and my colors and all that. And I realized it has nothing to do like really with personal branding. Yes, it has like a small kind of like a little bit of an impact, but really it's all about visibility and how you show up and how people perceive you and how they feel about you. So a lot of times when I go to conferences and things like that, people will always like describe me to be very energetic, positive, and things like that. So you want to make sure that whatever you're describing that your personal brand is aligning with how people perceive you. And if it's not, then you need to kind of work on getting to that. So I guess in short, that's kind of my explanation on that.
How do you drown out the noise, Farah? So, I'm listening, and I saw something you had written on your LinkedIn. I'm going to botch the wording, but it was about being bold and promoting yourself. And you nailed it. The perception that people have is their reality. But also, how do you drown out the noise of the naysayers who say, wow, it's so great, you're out there so self-promoting or just talking about you and what you're doing, when really you have a passion and something that you are just so aligned to? How do you figure out which of those feedback are critical to listen to? I need to go take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Which of those are just deflating and not worth your time?
Yeah, so I think just bringing it back down to just nursing school and just our profession, right? Nursing. The reason we go into nursing is to really help people. And it's a real like selfless type profession, right? We're helping people. And it's like we're almost taught like not to talk about money. Money is like another conversation, but like it's like, well, you're helping people. Like, so why do you care what salary you make? Like, you can't go into nursing for the money. True. But you also need to be able to build a sustainable living and, to continue, right? So it is important, right? So I think that perception and mindset is very important, not only as a nurse trying to build up your career, but also if you're a nurse entrepreneur, you need to realize that you're building your own brand, you're self-promoting for the betterment of yourself and kind of others. So early on, like I didn't even have a LinkedIn profile picture because I was like, oh, I don't want to put a picture up. I never used LinkedIn. I never posted because I was really afraid of judgment of like what my employer would think, what other people would think. So I think really the older you get, right, you realize that it doesn't matter what people say or think. And the closer that you get into your alignment, into your purpose and your mission, and you realize it's bigger than just you,
Yes.
then you're like, I don't really care. And there's this video clip of Deion Sanders. And he talks about, confidence a lot and things like that. But he's like, listen, he's like, someone asked him, like, why don't you care about what people think? He's like, I could care less. He's like, because I'm on assignment, meaning he's on assignment by what God kind of has told him to do. Like he's in his purpose, right?
Yeah,
when you're clear on your purpose and what your assignment is, you really could care less, right? Because there's always going to be people talking, whether it's good or bad. But as long as you have your purpose, you'll always have direction, and you'll be relentless in that. Like that's all you kind of think about. Like, how can I serve? And it becomes more than just making money, right? It's more like what impact you can make, which is the highest, right? Like Maslow's hierarchy, like fulfillment. And it gets you excited and passionate. And that's what I think you just realize. I don't care what people think, like whatever. And then there's going to be people that don't like you anyway. So
that is so true. I didn't wake up expecting to get inspired by Coach Prime today, but I love it because words have a lasting impact, and you are exactly right. We can choose to inspire or deflate. And when you know what your gifts are and what you're called to do, and that is your sole purpose, it doesn't matter what everyone else says. It still can get trapped though. You can get stuck in those weeds.
Right. But you're going to have like your tribe. You're either for people or you're not. And that's what you need to realize. And then also in entrepreneurship, as you both know, right? You're going to attract a certain type of individual. And I had to learn this early on. I don't want to work with everybody because not everybody is for me, right? So you want to qualify your leads so that you don't waste time, and that you're serving people that have the same kind of values as you do.
Okay, so I think that is a very powerful statement personally, because I do think that it is very hard to know, like, I think it goes back to the same thing as far as like choosing the right job, right? Just as simple as like what you're offering already and like coaching people into the job that aligns with their passion. You cannot and maybe will not do business with everybody. Just like you cannot and will not accept every position that's offered to you because it may no longer serve you and your purpose and your mission and your vision and what aligns with you. And I just want to call out, like, we've had multiple conversations with people, and I think the one thing that I hear as a theme is that the one thing we do well and we want to continue to really build upon and help people dive into more is bringing their whole self. Just bring your whole self, your authentic self, and you have to be comfortable in that skin in order to be able to really live out your purpose and those types of things. And I think we have a society where we struggle with just being able to show up as who we are and be bold and be powerful and make our statements and share what we have love for. And that's what makes, the beauty of our nursing profession, right? Like, we're all a little different. We all love different things. We all have different reasons why we show up every day. And being able to bring that forward in who you are every day is really so impactful and really will be what I think changes the world, right? And how you can build those like actual core relationships with people. And that's a big part of that personal branding message that I think you shared. So I do want to thank you for that. So Farah, you're on the Healthcare Rule Breakers podcast, and we have one question that we ask everyone. So if you could break any rule in healthcare, what's it going to be?
So really, I probably would say nursing students, right? I think the curriculum needs to definitely be transformed altogether, kind of all across, not just within the US or Canada, but I think globally, to really eliminate things that are not practical. Like, for example, we talk about nursing history. Yes, it's important, but like, how long are we going to be talking about flow for? Like,
She dropped the bomb this morning. She's dropping bombs on us.
Like, let's minimize that and put like exactly what's relevant out there, right? Like relevant issues. Like, we keep talking about things like women's health, right? All these inequalities and like statistics and things, but like, what are we actually doing to make that impact, right? And I want to be able to help nursing students with that curriculum understand their opportunities. So actually, exciting news. I can't really announce it just yet, but I'm working with the university to really, it's not the nursing department, but it's the whole university, like distance ed. I'm going to be doing a 10-week course on nurse entrepreneurship with that university, because I think it needs to come into the curriculum all across, because nurses, yes, could get their MBA or whatever, but you don't have to. You don't have to get an MBA to start a side hustle or whatever the case is. And I think it needs to be the norm. I know, FSU, I just talked to the dean recently. Them and Rebecca Love and Dr. Wang are going to be doing this AI course, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to move a lot faster in academia and also in healthcare to be in alignment with how fast technology is moving, to have nurses at the forefront of innovation, so that it could be more applied more quickly. So not only to improve health outcomes with advocacy, but to make nursing more efficient, so that we're not so behind, right? And then really just challenging nurse leaders to create healthier work environments. I mean, we've been talking about this for years. So that's another area that I think we really need to improve on quickly, because the retention, it's not really, I really believe there's a crisis in retention more so than a shortage. So that's kind of, that's
Okay, you're talking to your people you're talking
Yes.
to your people today. I mean, we're right behind you. We're there with you for sure. I completely agree. We've talked to someone before, and they were sharing like some very innovative things that were happening at their university. I think it was like UPenn, and how they encourage the nursing students to take courses like in marketing and other types of like specialties as undergraduates. And I'm like, like, hell yes, like that's exactly what we need to be doing. We need to be infusing this additional knowledge, because whether we like it or not, healthcare is a business. And if nurses aren't taught the business of healthcare and how to inflict upon that, like we're definitely behind. And I say that because I'm also a nurse practitioner. And I think, even in my training, I felt like I got a little bit of a disservice because I wasn't really taught how to own my own practice, even though that's like a general conversation with our physician counterparts. And I'm like, there are plenty of states that have full practice where I can set up and have a practice, but you don't come out of school really feeling like equipped, or that there are an amassed number of people who have where there are opportunities for you to get coaching for how to own your own practice, or resources that talk about, a nurse practitioner led practice. And I think that's just one of those things that transcends into, you talking about having specific entrepreneurship courses, because that should be the minimum at this point.
right.
Definitely think I agree with the we're behind on that, and we're right there with you. So I can't wait to hear more about that. So last thing, if someone, number one, I know you have a book that we need to talk about. So hold that up. And then if anyone wanted to catch up with you, they want to talk to you about career coaching, they want to book you as a speaker, they want to talk to you about curriculum, whatever that kind of thing looks like for you, where do they find you? Where are you at? Where do you hang out? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I'd say LinkedIn is the number one place where I create the most content and where I'm pretty much on every day. So LinkedIn, and then they can go to my website. It's nursefair.com with one R, nursefair.com. The book is there. They could get the book, Nurses Making Money Moves, A Nurse's Guide to Starting a Business. It's an actual workbook where they can actually go from idea to actually launching and just registering their business, because so many nurses just say they want to do it, but they take too long. I'm like, literally, you can have a business in like a week, like registered, right? I'm like, that's the easiest part to getting started. So this book kind of walks through how to do a lean business plan, like that type of stuff. So they could get that on nursefair.com. And then literally they could just Google me, Farah Laurent, and they'll find me on Google and connect with me that way. So for speaking, same thing. They can go to my website or direct message me on LinkedIn. And then also the Nursing Dose with Farah is the podcast. They can find it on YouTube or Spotify.
All right. And we'll drop your links with this podcast, so you all can check there as well to connect with Dr. Farah.
Yes, it's such a pleasure talking to you. And I just have to say, you have really, this is truly bold. You are challenging the way, and I work with leaders all the time. And, my good colleague and I, Dr. Dan Weberg, we talk about this a lot, that the leaders are the barrier to the innovation. And you're saying some hard things to hear. You're right. We can't just say you have to go into med surg. You have to do this route. Which is really tough as a leader to say, whoa, 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 what would that look like? How does the world reshape? But we are still talking about hand hygiene and we can't get it right.
Right. I think honestly, this could be a whole nother conversation, but so I think education in general always gets the short end. They cut in education. They want to shorten nurses' orientation. And that's the biggest problem. We need to support them, and they need to be actual mandated nurse residency programs that are at least 6 months to a year to retain nurses, because you're setting them up for failure. And then the other thing I'd like to see change is how nurses speak about nursing, right? To elevate our profession as a positive profession, because we want to recruit more people in nursing and change that whole negative connotation, because it is a great profession with so many different options that you can do. And then lastly, leadership is a specialty on its own, right? Like you said, we're failing leaders because it's they're like, oh, you want to be a nurse manager? Oh, okay, cool. Just go do it. But you're not training them.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for challenging the status quo, for just adding to our circle of just a tribe of people that genuinely want to promote each other. It goes back to what you said about it's all about the relationships. It's all about the connections and the purpose. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much. And I love your podcast. Congrats on starting this and amplifying, other nurses' voices and things like that. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.